What's up YouTube, it's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and I'm back with the top 10 small forwards in the NBA. Now before we get into the list, two quick things that you must know. A, when it comes to me making these lists, I am doing projections for the upcoming season. So yes, I will be using some information in previous years, but obviously I'm assuming and projecting on what players may do for the next year. And two, when it comes to certain players and the positions that they will play for the upcoming season, I'm using some information that I've gathered throughout the offseason and projecting on what position they may play, regardless if it's a different position from previous years of their career. And with that being said, don't expect LeBron to be on this list. Now with that out of the way, let's get right into the list. Coming in at number 10, we have Joe Ingles, starting small forward for the Utah Jazz, who had a breakout season last year, as Joe Ingles was a consistent double-digit scorer while being extremely efficient from behind the arc. And not only was Joe Ingles a consistent three-point marksman, but he has a high basketball IQ, which makes him a very well-rounded player despite the fact that he lacks athleticism and he really doesn't have any type of length or anything special to his game. Another thing that's extremely interesting about Joe Ingles last year is that as soon as Donovan Mitchell became a little bit more comfortable at being an aggressive scorer, Joe Ingles started to get open looks, and so his scoring productivity started to trend upwards. Towards the end of the season and in the playoffs, he became more of a consistent 15-point scorer, which is something that I believe that we will all see a little bit more of Joe Ingles in the upcoming season. However, Joe Ingles, obviously, he is not a star of a team, and I would argue that he can't even be the third option of any team that has any aspirations of being a finals contender. But at the end of the day, Joe Ingles is still a solid contributor to a team that could be sneaky good in the upcoming season. Now coming in at number 9, we have Robert Covington. Robert Covington, starting small forward for the Philadelphia 76ers, and very similar to Joe Ingles, had a breakout season, as Robert Covington quickly became the prototypical 3-and-D guy that every team desperately needs. Last year, Robert Covington in the early parts of the season became the equalizer whenever Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid started to struggle. Now as time continued to progress, he started to become a little bit more inconsistent, especially in the playoffs where he was just egregious. However, on the defensive end, he constantly gave the 76ers maximum effort, which eventually placed him on the all-defensive team. Hopefully this upcoming season, he does become a more consistent three-point threat throughout the entire season, as Markelle Fultz will probably have a bigger ball handling role on the team, and they definitely going to need the spacing. But if not, being a consistent 3-and-D option on this team definitely earned him a spot on this list. Coming in at number 8, we have Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, a young player who has a lot of potential to his game, however hasn't yet reached it, as Andrew Wiggins isn't that great of a defender, nor is he that efficient of a scorer. However, still finds a place on this list because I do believe his output for this Minnesota Timberwolves with the departure of Jimmy Butler will continue to increase. Hopefully we see Andrew Wiggins go back to being a 20-point scorer on a game-to-game basis, and potentially we start to see a little bit more defensive effort out of him as well. However, Andrew Wiggins, like I stated before, really isn't that efficient, doesn't give you that much playmaking whatsoever, and on the defensive end, I hope that we get to see a little bit more effort, but I highly doubt he'll play at any elite level. Because of this, even though yes, he could potentially be a 20-point scorer, there's just so many massive holes in his game. That's the reason why he's so low on this list, even though yes, again, he could potentially be a 20-point scorer. Hopefully everything works out for Andrew Wiggins, but until then, I can't see myself putting him any higher than where he's at right now. Coming in at number 7, we have Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, young small forward for the Los Angeles Lakers, who potentially could have a breakout season this upcoming year. Now, Brandon Ingram entering the NBA had ridiculous expectations of being the next Kevin Durant. However, he hasn't been able to reach those expectations, largely due to his lackluster scoring ability. But fortunately for Brandon Ingram, he has been working on being more of a well-rounded player, as he is a solid defender and feels comfortable with not only initiating offense, but being a playmaker as well. And on top of the fact last year that he was a consistent 16-point scorer, and I do believe he will be able to eclipse 20 points this next season due to LeBron being on the same team with him and potentially having open looks. I do believe that his place on this list is justified. Now coming in at number 6, we have Otto Porter. Otto Porter, starting small forward for the Washington Wizards, who has taken a lot of steps in the right direction. I have to give credit where credit is due here, because not too long ago, Otto Porter in his career, it didn't look all that good. However, Otto Porter has definitely turned it around over the past 2 seasons as he has taken massive steps in the right direction, and it seems as if he feels way more comfortable taking 3-pointers at the NBA level. So much so that you can easily make an argument that he's one of the better 3-point shooters in the NBA, as last year he had a career high shooting from behind the arc. Now, last year we were able to see a little bit more Otto Porter's game with John Wall missing nearly half of the season, as he was way more aggressive when it came to his ability to attack the basket. Hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that this upcoming season, but even if we don't, the level of efficiency that Otto Porter performs at is almost unheard of, which is why I have him as high as I do on this list. Now, to start us off in our top 5, we have Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, 6'8" small forward for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I almost want to call him a star small forward because I do believe this upcoming season the Milwaukee Bucks will desperately need his productivity, as Chris Middleton has shown over the past year and a half now that he can be a consistent 20+ scorer and be one of the better 3-point shooters in the NBA, along with the fact that defensively he's definitely not a slouch and could potentially take the next step in the right direction for this upcoming season. Furthermore, when it comes to Chris Middleton, what I saw in the postseason last year was ridiculous, and hopefully both him and Giannis can take the next step together, and if Chris Middleton can be a consistent 23-point scorer on a team that desperately needs another scoring option outside of Giannis, I do believe his value will continue to increase in the league. The only knock that I have on Chris Middleton, and maybe this was by design, is that he doesn't really handle the ball as much as I would like to see. Hopefully this upcoming season we see a little bit more diversity in this game as Coach Bud is taking over, but until then, number 5 spot to me seems just good for Chris Middleton. Now, coming in at number 4, we have Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward, starting small forward for the Boston Celtics, and there seems to be a huge question mark on the type of player that we're going to see from Gordon Hayward this upcoming season. Not because Gordon Hayward doesn't come across as one of the better small forwards in the NBA, because even his last year in Utah, he eclipsed 20 points, he was an extremely efficient scorer, and we started to see a little bit more ball handling responsibilities given to him, and he did completely fine with that. But when it comes to Gordon Hayward and the Boston Celtics, especially since Jason Tatum has arrived so early in his career, I really don't know the type of impact that he will have on this team. So much so that I actually thought about for a second placing Chris Middleton ahead of him, but the only reason why I have Gordon Hayward ahead of Chris Middleton is because of his basketball IQ, and it seems as if his game is a little bit more diversified than Chris Middleton, as Gordon Hayward is way more than just somebody who just stands in the corner and knocks down the 3 ball. He's someone that feels comfortable attacking the basket, he can handle the ball, and he's a solid distributor as well. The type of numbers that I'm expecting from Gordon Hayward is extremely questionable, largely due to the fact that A, he was hurt last year, and B, like I said before, Jason Tatum has emerged as one of the marquee players on that team, so I really don't know the type of role he's going to play, but nevertheless his basketball IQ should definitely separate him from all the other players that I place below him. Now, coming in at number 3, we have Paul George. Paul George, star small forward for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Paul George is a consistent 20 to 23 point scorer, regardless if he is the first or second option on the team, largely due to the fact that he's one of the better 3-point shooters on this list. But the two things that separate Paul George from everybody else on this list is A, he's one of the elite level defenders in the NBA, and B, he has the ability to create his own shot, which is something that I really can't say that too many players below him can do at a consistent basis. Now, Paul George's upcoming season, I really don't see that much growth out of him, as it seems as if he's become the player that he's going to be for the rest of his career, or at least until he declines. But nevertheless, being a 20 to 23 point scorer, being extremely efficient from behind the arc, an elite level defender, and a shot creator is more than enough to get you in the top 3 conversation on this list. Coming in at number 2, we have Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, arguably a top 5 player in the NBA when healthy, is one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen in my lifetime, as Kawhi Leonard could potentially take the next step in his career as he's now on a new team in Toronto. Hopefully Kawhi Leonard can go back to being a 25+ scorer while shooting extremely efficient from everywhere on the field, and not only that, can potentially go back into being in the Defensive Player of the Year award conversation ever since he's missed the last year of basketball. And speaking of which, hopefully he's completely healthy. I watched the preseason game and it seems as if he's ready to go, but even if he's only 80% of who he once was, I would still take him above everybody else I have below him, largely due to the fact that he's someone someone who has extremely high basketball IQ, has the ability to operate with or without the ball, and really doesn't even care if he does have the ball in his hand that much. And on top of the fact, he's extremely consistent. And oh yeah,
where you sitting at?
And coming in at number 1, we have Kevin Durant. I really don't think I have to do that much explanation behind why Kevin Durant is the best small forward in the NBA, but just a quick overview on who KD is. Durant is a star small forward for the Golden State Warriors, who is one of the greatest scorers the league has ever seen, as he's extremely efficient and is able to attack the basket while still being an extremely effective and deadly three-point shooter. Kevin Durant, while he does stand at 7 feet tall, is extremely unique due to his ball handling abilities, and he is extremely quick for his size as well. And with his last 2 years with the Golden State Warriors, you can clearly tell that Kevin Durant is becoming more of a well-rounded player with a higher basketball IQ. As on the defensive end, he's giving way more effort and he's making the right plays, and also on the offensive end, he is a way better passer than he was in OKC, along with the fact that he's more prone to move off ball, which obviously allows the Golden State Warriors offense to continue to flow even if he doesn't have the ball in his hands. Kevin Durant this upcoming season really doesn't have much to prove outside of him potentially being the best player in the NBA, and yes, I do believe that is a very valid argument, and with LeBron on a decline, at least in my opinion he is, Kevin Durant could easily snatch that title from LeBron, despite the fact that LeBron still is playing at an extremely high level. But with that being said, people, please let me know what you think about my list in the comment section below. Did I rank someone too high, too low, or did I just completely forget a player that I was supposed to put on this list? Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because we have 2 more positions to go and you definitely don't want to miss out on those 2 positions. But until then, I will see you all later. Peace.